Good morning, folks. You're in track 7, room 360 for the 11 o'clock presentation. The passports are different today than they were yesterday, so if you're looking for prizes and all that, be sure to fill these out, get them turned in. Towards the end, or it's up to David really, how Q&A goes. We typically go 45 minutes, but we do have the lunch hour, so typically a lot of people stick around and Q&A may go longer than that. So, David did fill in for our last speaker. It was how to rob banks in 2024. So he filled in stupendously. The last speaker had some scheduling issues. But David is with Nexure. His title will be Insider Threats and How to Hunt for Malicious Insiders. David brings 2 decades of frontline cybersecurity experience in security research, penetration testing, and forensics. He's a thought leader and founder of the B-Sides Houston conference, recognized for his engaging presentations. David?
Hey, guys. Oh, that's right. Okay, I will try. Okay, try to do this. They're all wrong. I'm actually very, very loud. Come on in. Okay, we got more people coming in. Look at that. We'll see who's last. If you're last, you got to come up to stage and do a dance or something. Make a little noise. Cool. Welcome. Wow, good crowd. Good crowd. Oh, I have a remote back here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm Dave Balcar. Is everyone from Houston here? Anyone that came in from other cities or anything? Austin, Dallas, nowhere? I'm the furthest away. I flew in from New Hampshire yesterday. So, okay. I am a native Houstonian, though, so I was born and raised here. Awesome. So my talk is, insider threats and how to hunt for malicious actors. I'm going to talk about that. A little bit about me, 25 plus years in cybersecurity. I was a strategist at Carbon Black. I've worked at Kaspersky as a researcher. I was a pen tester with IO Active. I am a U.S. Navy veteran as well. I've been seen on TV all around the world. And yes, that's me at the Comedy Club in New Jersey. I did perform a set there. That was pretty fun. So I promise my jokes are really bad. Awesome. So let's talk about the threat landscape, right? So we have all of this stuff. It's not just insider threat. This is just what we're talking about today, right? We have, DDoS. We got our insider threats. We have our hacktivist, activist, nation states. You have all that. And yes, script kiddies are still around. Okay? Crazy, crazy stuff. If you need help, this guy's the guy that's going to help you. I got like 6 people laughing. It's Paul Blart. Come on, people. Awesome stuff. Okay, so as defenders, we have a problem, right? Can we put the gate down and block everybody? No. And what do the bad guys normally do? The cyber criminals, they just drive around your defenses, right, to get into the soft, gooey underlayer. Okay. So I'm also known for taking funny pictures. So I took this picture. Oh, I have a laser. Look at that. In 2014, when I actually moved in September of 2013 to New Hampshire. This is a restaurant down the street from me. This is facing their parking lot. They had this camera. It's a wireless camera. Notice that it's not plugged into a power strip, and the camera was not plugged in. Now, in 2023, only thing that's changed is the power strip's gone. I actually went and told the manager, you need to hook up your security camera. And obviously, after all these years, they never hooked it up. 10 years. I couldn't believe it when I was like, golly, well, I'm going to have to go see if that's still there. It was pretty funny. You've heard of BYOD? Yeah, this is BYOFS, Bring Your Own Fire Extinguisher. Yes, this is a real picture from a office building in Brazil. I was flying back from Sao Paulo, and my buddy sent me this and said, Dave, I went, and this is on the 3rd floor of the building because the elevator was out, so he was walking up the stairs, and he's like, oh, Dave needs this, and had to send that to me. Okay, so when is the National Insider Threat Awareness Month? Yes, it is. It is definitely every month, but it is nationally recognized if you didn't know. What? September? September. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. So our winner in our first set of game show host here is my famous Remove Before Cyber Tags. There you go. Awesome. It also counts as a free hug with the TSA when you go there. I get lots of free hugs at the TSA. They love me, or their x-ray machines love to look in my bags. So, cool, September. So, I was given a talk a couple years ago, and being who I am and what I do, I just saw this and I just had to laugh my ass off. So, when I checked into the hotel, they said, hey, you need your card key to get to your floor. I said, okay, no problem. And then I saw this. So what do you think I did? Of course, I tested that card on every single floor. And yes, that's a master key. I could use it for every single floor. I didn't test it anywhere else. But anyone notice anything else that's very glaring about this card? Magnetic stripe, you're right. It's the easiest card to clone in the history of cards. I mean, literally, it takes you as fast as you could swipe it, you can clone that card. I actually went to the manager at the hotel and says, hey, why do y'all have that card there? And he's like, without blinking an eye, without even thinking about it, goes, hey, the reason we have it there is because they've maybe gone shopping and they've got their hands full, and it's just, they might not be able to get the key out of their wallet or purse or whatever, so we just made it easier for them. I'm like, well, you made it seriously easy for anyone else wanting to attack this hotel. It's like, come on, guys, physical security. This is the ultimate insider threat. This is your boss watching you. Yeah. That's how you defeat the insider threat. Okay, so who was here last year? Oh, wow, not as many as I thought. Okay. Well, last year I posted this this meme on Twitter. There's my Twitter account at Network232. And you notice something's different here. Someone took all the ones from the elevators in the Marquis Hotel just next door to the JRB, right? I can't make this stuff up. So I put a thing out there, hashtag bring that shit back. And then I found the culprit. I figured out who did it. So, what did I do yesterday when I arrived here? I got in the elevator, and somebody started stealing the 7s. I can't make this up. I checked 3 other elevators. All the 7s were missing. The 1s were back, but now they're taking 7s. I don't know if they're trying to get a collection going here or what. I just cannot make this stuff up. This is your network protected by Cisco? Yes, it is a real picture. I took that in a field office down in, where was I? Peru. I believe this one was in Peru. Okay, so what does Wikipedia say about, threats, right? I love The Art of War. Who's read The Art of War? A few people. Good stuff, right? So a lot of it can be applied to cyber, right? I read it when I was in the military. It's really, really cool. My biggest thing here, for every victory gained, you'll also suffer a defeat, okay? You've got to know your enemy, whether that's the attacker, the insider, the malware families that are hitting you, or the attacking financial institutions, healthcare, whatever else. You need to know that. Okay, so a little trivia here. What does Hollywood say? Who is this guy? What was he doing? The magic, not yet. But what crime was he doing? Who said intellectual property? Okay, I'll come back to you. Okay. I'm going to make you come and get one of these tags. Here, I'll give you one. Oops. There we go. IP theft, right? He was trying to steal the dino eggs, right? Good catch. What about this guy? What was he doing? No. Taking down what? Taking down the conglomerate E-Corp. He was doing that. But there was the moral of the story of everything that culminated at the end of the show, he was actually trying to commit sabotage. Because after he had taken Evil Corp down, what was the final thing? The boss level was trying to wipe out like the Iron Mountain site, right? Where they had all the backups, all the paper, all the tapes. He wanted to sabotage it so it would basically burn to the ground so they could never, ever recover. What about this guy? I heard embezzlement. It was fraud, right? Remember Superman 3? They did the Superman 3 con. So every time they did a transaction in the company, it was supposed to be 0.01%, and they actually made it 1%. So they just, they got a bunch of money the first day. It was kind of funny. So if you've never seen Office Space, definitely got to see it. What about this guy? It's a trick question. What? Whistleblowing, that's good. Was it espionage or was he a whistleblower? See, I told you it's a trick question. I mean, I can ask this to a room of, it depends on who I ask my audience to this, and it's usually going to, in security conferences is going to be about 50-50. It's kind of, but I have my own opinion, which that's for hallway con after the fact. Okay, so several years ago, and I've shown this picture quite a bit, but it's still relevant. This right here was found in about 200 Cisco switches. That's a close-up picture of it. Anybody want to take a guess at what that was? Complete control over this device. So when this box was connected, this switch, guess what that little thing did? It provided an SSH tunnel to China. Sorry, I had a cough. I had a frog in my throat. Very dangerous. About 200 of these boxes were sold through a kind of a gray market site, you can say. Not good stuff. Of course, the site originated from China. So how many people take apart their gear when they get it? Okay, I'm the only one that takes apart their gear. So I'll tell you a funny story. So I have a 20-year-old son, and for like the last 10, 12 years, he always wants to know what comes in the mail for dad, because I have companies will send me stuff like this to reverse engineer, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking for: backdoors, supply chain attacks, that kind of stuff. Yeah, really bad stuff. Supermicro got hit with this years and years ago, but there was on the actual motherboard during the actual manufacturing, and I mean, it was like tiny. You couldn't see it. So how could you find that? Could you find that in your network? There's no way, because it's beyond the firmware. You could flash the firmware, update that switch, and guess what? That thing can still talk out and do an SSH encrypted tunnel back to the adversary that can read all your packets. Crazy stuff. In 2021, Cypher, which is spelled with a 3R, they posted not a job posting, but they were actively going after people that worked at these big banks. And there's like, okay, if you work at a big bank and you control ACH or automatic transfer or clearinghouse stuff, we want to talk to you. We will give you 40 to 50% of everything that we can steal. We'll give it to you. They were promising like 7-figure paydays per week, okay, to do this. They were looking from an insider, okay? Golly, I mean, if I was going to make $1 million in a week, holy crap. I wouldn't do it, but you just never know, right? Bad employee. This one's brand new. This one just got released because the jail, he was arrested for it. It actually happened November of last year in New Jersey. This guy, he was working remote. He was a remote IT worker out of Kansas for this facility in New Jersey. And what he did was do an extortion attempt against the company. So he got in, changed all the admin passwords, and then locked out all the accounts on a bunch of servers, okay? Same kind of thing. He kind of pulled a Superman 3, but San Francisco style, when San Francisco got shut down, when they lost 80% of their network. Same kind of thing. And then he ran scripts to randomly shut down servers. So the IT team would just be firefighting constantly, trying to hide his tracks. He was not very good at all. He actually had a laptop with an RDP connection back into their network, and he was literally on their own network doing searches for how to reset admin passwords. Script kiddie stuff, you know? Okay. He was arrested. He faces 35 years in prison and a $750,000 fine. Crazy stuff for Steve Harvey. This one's brand new too. Notice August 30th, 2024. So I just came from the airport yesterday. What do the crew members wear when they come in? They have their ID badge and it says known crew member. Well, there's one system that controls that. And a security researcher discovered big SQL injection attack, got them full access to this box, okay? There we go. This is the website. It's no longer available, so don't even try it, okay? Just so you know. Notice they blanked out the picture of the person and it says approved. He could print his own known crew member badges and walk right through airport security because they would be valid in the system with the correct barcode. How scary is that? Someone could just walk into the airport like that. Pretty scary stuff. It's like, why? Why is this stuff open like that? What about getting the job, right? I know the job market's kind of crazy. You probably heard about this. This North Korean cyber criminal or whatever, tried to get a job at KnowBe4, okay, that does phishing. It's like, come on, guys. Tried to go through the interview process and all that kind of stuff. They caught it before he was able to get, that's why I have first of all, no illegal access was granted, that kind of stuff. But this is not the only thing going. Yes, sir. Hold your question. I'm kidding. Go. Oh, yeah. There's several North Korean groups doing this, and guess where they're based? Singapore. They're not in North Korea. Most of the attackers coming out of North Korea are based out of Singapore. You want to know why? Internet access. That's why. Okay. So here's some more North Koreans. They were targeting job seekers. They went one more. They were going after developer jobs. And what was interesting with them, they created their own app. And then they also created a GitHub page with fake software. It was a test. So what they would do is they try to apply for a job as a developer, they would have the job listing, right? Developers would come in, they would say, hey, meet us on Telegram, and we'll tell you the next process in this chain. Red flag number 1, right? Number 2 was, we want to do video conferencing with you. So here, you need to download our free video conferencing app. So that was another way they tried to take over the developer's box. Then they would said, hey, you have to complete a test. You have 15 minutes. We're going to give you a GitHub page with some Node.js file or some kind of JavaScript or whatever. You need to get it on your box and debug it or whatever. As soon as it was malware. As soon as they ran it on a developer's box, because what do developers do? They turn off all their security software because it's always the same thing. It slows me down. It blocks me. Which some security software definitely blocks developers because a lot of the compiling tools and stuff look like malware. So, bad stuff. Funny, this is from a couple years, 4 years old now, but this is an inside job. This was a medical company, so they paid people home. They gave them computers totally locked down. They couldn't print. They couldn't use the USB. It was basically a dumb terminal at that point, but it was still a PC. So there's other ways to attack it. What they would do is take screenshots of your medical history, and they would sell each screenshot for $50 a pop, sometimes $100 a pop, to do it, stealing, patient data. Crazy stuff. I don't talk bad about cybersecurity companies, but it can happen to them. One of their employees was selling customer info to others. Well, guess what? Now they know what the other person's running, right? They know what software we're running, all that kind of stuff. So bad stuff. This one's kind of bad. So this one's out in the UK. So this IT employee was impersonating a ransomware. So this company got hit by ransomware. They sent a ransom note in, said, hey, pay us this money. Here's our Bitcoin address. Well, this guy thought, oh, hold on a second. Since they're already in, let me see if I can boondoggle this. So he actually went into the email server and changed the Bitcoin address to something he controlled and was trying for the company. He was on the IT group investigating this case. So he had all the inside knowledge and was saying, hey, yeah, we need to hurry up and pay these guys. Yeah, so we can get that encryption key to get back. He had no plans on doing that. He just wanted the company to pay the Bitcoin to his address. Crazy stuff. So who's using DLP? I can't believe anybody raised their hand. As a pen tester, I can tell you I've gotten around to every single DLP with one word, encryption, so which is not good. This particular DLP right here is when this manufacturer of DLP got hit by themselves. They had 4 insiders. It was salespeople that were leaving the company, and they took a bunch of information that went around their DLP, didn't pick up any of it because all they did was encrypt it and suck it out with a USB drive. Okay. What about this lovely lady? This is back in 2017. But this brings me to a bigger story. So the FBI, she actually worked for the NSA down in Florida, okay? And she was taking information and giving it to the press. She thought she was going to be the whistleblower. Well, no, she wasn't really whistleblowing because some of the stuff that she was like publicizing on Russiagate turned out to be false information anyway, so that didn't go anywhere. But anyone know how they got her caught? The printer. Who said printer? Printer. Okay, I'll give you a tag for that one. That was a good one. Yeah, so if you did not know, years and years and years ago, when laser printers came out, there was a secret agreement between the printer manufacturers and the Secret Service. The Secret Service, every single laser printer or color printer printed, even to this day, has code from the Secret Service. Every time you print to your color printer, it prints microdots on your thing. It's going to tell you the serial number of that printer. If the printer has a date and time, it will try to print that too. And the location of the microdots change. So you don't know where on the paper. So they have a special device that actual Secret Service will look at to figure out where this printing is. And that's how they caught her. Because she actually she thought she was being sneaky and took out the physical paper to give to the reporter. So the FBI just grabbed the papers back and says, national security, and then they handed it to the Secret Service. Secret Service says, yep, here are the microdots. They found the serial number, and guess what? There's cameras all over the building. They had a camera. All they had to do was pull the camera feed from that printer, and boom, she was done. And all this was done in like 48 hours once they found her. So I always like telling stories. How much time? What time is it? My watch is very big. Do what? It's 11:20? Oh, I got plenty of time. Okay. So, totally not doing anything. This is totally a cool watch. So just don't check the Wi-Fi. Anyways, so I was like talking about, insider threats. So I've caught a lot of people doing insider threats. Like I said, I've worked with law enforcement all over the world and stuff. And everything from, IT people to, which I hate doing because most IT people, 99.9% are awesome. They want to protect the network, that kind of stuff. But I do get a few. And then I get a lot of insiders that are either leaving the job or they want to be destructive or they just don't know, okay? So I worked this one case years ago that what was interesting about the case is it was not really an extortion scheme. It was basically to get money okay? This one particular company. So I got hired to, they thought they had an insider threat attack on their thing because information was getting leaked out of their company, and they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. The CIO had an idea, but he couldn't prove it. So he gave me 3 names. We actually went into their building. We put spyware on these 3 computers and started watching them. I had my idea after we did a bunch of research to figure out who could possibly be doing this. It's a big financial company, multi-billion-dollar company. And what it turned out was we didn't have to wait long. We put this spyware on about 3:30 in the morning, and 8:30 in the morning the next day, I got a call from the CIO, says, get to my office right now. I'm like, oh, crap. We set up a laptop that we had an encryption key, so only his throwaway laptop could see the screenshots and keystrokes from that computers. So we couldn't even see it. We had him type in the key and everything, so we would know what it was. Chain of custody and all that kind of stuff. So we started looking at it, and we're like, interesting. So when this IT worker came in, which was the IT manager, by the way, the very first thing he did when he got in the morning was open up 40 mailboxes. It was the top 40 people in the company, from the CEO, CFO, other people in IT. They have their own security department. He pulled up 40 mailboxes and started copying data off to sell, because they were acquiring other companies, and he was taking that data and trying to sell it to those other companies so they could raise their bids and get more money. Okay, a couple of these other shady companies that turned out to be shady took him up on that. Okay, so there was 13 companies that were involved in this. So he did this for about 1.5 years. How much money do you think he earned? Okay, I hear a few million. Anyone else? Bueller? $63,000. Once we saw that, I was already talking to law enforcement at that time. I had an FBI contact on this one as well, because it was over $5,000 in fraud. So the agents didn't get there till about 9:30, but the corporate security pulled him out of his office, put him downstairs, watching him and stuff. He wouldn't admit to anything, didn't want to talk to anybody. He was sitting in this room waiting for FBI to show up, basically, to arrest him and take him away. Because they had all the evidence. They could show the agents and everything. And I just asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I talk to him for a second? I'm just curious, IT guy to IT guy, see what he said. I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and he told me the whole thing. No, I did not walk in the room with a phone book. So I was very, very nice to the guy. And it was bad because the one thing he told me, which I can't tell you everything because I'm under NDA with law enforcement on it, but I will tell you this. He said he'd been at the company 9.5 years, which is going to be ironic in a second. He said he was bored. He made really good money. He didn't really have any debt. He liked the thrill. That was kind of his motivating thing. And I was like, golly, we all like a challenge, but come on. So I told you he was there for 9.5 years. He went to barbecues with the CIO. They were good friends, all this kind of stuff. He got 9.5 years in prison for that, plus whatever fine whatever the judge, I can't remember what the fine was. Yeah, he's going to be, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be that bored. So, just kidding. That's a whole nother show. So, bad stuff. So, back in 2008, way before, so this is a sneaky thing. So, there was a bunch of leaks coming out of Tesla, okay, on new products, stuff they were doing, blah, 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 way before SpaceX. So, they kept looking. It's like people would print their emails out and give them to the press and post them and everything. Tesla had enough. They couldn't figure out who was leaking the information. So they came up with a really cool thing, is the sentences, there was spacing between the sentences. and they would do 1 space or 2 space. And if you read the paragraph, you could read it back, 1010, and they made a binary code out of it. So all the people that got the original email had a different code. And all they had to do, as soon as it was done, boom, they got the person. Yeah, he doesn't work at Tesla anymore. What about these two guys? They're smiling. These guys are happy, right? Do we know who these guys are? If for the people in the back that can't read the bottom. Uber CEO, the old one, and then Anthony Lewandowski. Smart guy. But interesting that, so he was, oops, how do I go back? There we go. This guy was in cahoots with the Uber CEO to get self-driving tech, okay? So before he left, he stole 14,107 things. The head of security for Google got on the stand and told the judge and the jury and everyone in the thing how they caught him. And they caught him a couple different ways. The way they found out all the files and they could prove it was him and his laptop and everything that was stolen and what USB drive. They used an app control product by Carbon Black, which was awesome. And they were able to catch this guy. And it was neat seeing someone say what caught this person, because they said, hey, we have our own internal tools, we use this commercial product, blah, blah, blah. So that was awesome advertising. Of course, he pleads guilty. This is in 2020. Then he was going to be sentenced to 18 months in prison with and as well as a $4 billion lawsuit against Uber. He was later forgiven for that for some reason. Pisses me off. So this is my honorable mention insider threat. What? Oh, someone's checked the Wi-Fi yet? No? Okay, hold it. You gotta hold the jokes yet. I gotta let the other crew catch up. So this guy was hilarious. So he outsourced his job. He literally outsourced his job to a company in China for about $50,000 a year. He was making about less than $200,000, but from several companies. He apparently pulled this scam at several. He was kind of working at several companies. And this one particular company, they used RSA tokens. So he would take it. They'd issue a new one about every 180 days. So every time he got a new one, he'd put it in a bag and FedEx it to China. So guess what? There's our two-factor defeated, right? Only thing that brought this guy down was the VPN logs. It took the company a year, but they started looking at the VPN logs and discovered, hold on, we don't have anybody working in China. So the people that were doing his job for him in China didn't use a VPN to VPN back into the States, then to connect so it would look legitimate. They just used servers in China. So that's how they caught him. I hope you're watching your VPN logs, especially after the pandemic. So the best one I've got, this guy's great. This man, he was hacking the local county jail to get his buddy out early. So he did some social engineering, had them get some malware on the jail's computers so he could change the date for his buddy to get out. Luckily, they caught it before it happened. The only thing that would have made this more funny is if I was the investigator, I would have said, send him an email, call him, say, yep, your buddy's getting out in 3 days. Because you know the guy's going to show up to jail to pick him up, and all you have to do is put him in the same cell. That's what I would have done, but that's just me, okay? And then this is a good one that Tesla, again, has been in the news. This is a big ransomware plot against Tesla back, 2020 timeframe. This particular gentleman, it was an IT worker, 27 not 27, that's not him. I don't think it even shows it on here. I think he was in his 30s. Anyways, so this guy, this 27-year-old Russian in another cohort, got a hold, looked up this guy's LinkedIn basically, knew he worked at Tesla Gigafactory, and they wanted to ransom the Gigafactory. But they couldn't get in. Really good security. Tesla has, I know a couple people over there have really good security. So they were going to pay this guy $500,000, and the only thing this insider had to do was insert a USB drive into the computer and walk away. It's all he had to do. They said, we would take care of the rest. And it was this self-propagating, ransomware, boom, 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 go. Well, luckily this developer this IT guy, was smarter than the average bear and loved Tesla. So he called Tesla Security, which called the FBI, which put a sting on about an hour north of the Gigafactory. Some of this stuff is not public knowledge, so we'll keep it on the down low. So they set up a sting in a diner. Everyone in the diner was an FBI employee, and everything was recorded, videotaped, and everything else. And they had this guy. They just had the two guys admit, on camera, saying, "Oh yeah, here," because the guy was like saying, "Okay, I need more money." And as soon as they passed over what I was told, as soon as they passed over the malware on the USB drive, the FBI, arrested both of them. Crazy stuff. Of course, some of the stats here are showing, insider threats are some of the biggest thing. To show of hands, what do y'all think? Do y'all think insider threats is kind of the worst thing in your environment? Yes? Okay, pretty big number there. Yeah, I mean, it's like the same stuff. Google Drive, Gmail, Dropbox, all of this stuff. Slack, another big company they had a big leak, like gigs and gigs and gigs of data off their Slack. Slack is great if you're a gamer, or your Discord if you're a gamer. I wouldn't put company secrets on it. They would dump files and everything, and people can just suck it out with an API. There's a really cool Python script online you can use to download your entire Slack, even if your administrator has it shut down. So yeah, bad stuff. Oh, I forgot to ask when we started. What time is it? My watch isn't working. Did everyone charge their phones? I know I'm standing between you and lunch, but I have my cool charging cable. It does Apple. You got the lightning protector, and then I even do the older Android. It's got the micro USB on it. Does anybody need to charge their phone? Why does no one want to charge their phone? God, dog it. It is not. I have two other cables that are similar to an OMG. I actually have OMG cables with me, but I have another one that was very custom made just for me that's not OMG that can still get around that stuff. The funny thing with this cable, yes, it does work. It does charge your phone. Really, really cool, except that it's a great party trick because I pull the cover off of it, and yes, it does have a micro controller in it. And on the other side, you can stick a SIM card in it. Pretty cool. See, SIM card, microcontroller. I'm just going to walk it around so you can see. Really, really cool. I'll come to the back row because I know the audience in the back is always like, oh, man, we sit in the back and we don't get to see the cool stuff. See, SIM card, microcontroller. Pretty cool stuff. Anybody want to take a guess what this is? No? Micro key? This is a GPS and microphone. I put a SIM card in it, which I take it out. I don't travel with it. But I put a SIM card in it, and then all I got to do is call that number, put in a code, and the thing will start sending me the GPS coordinates and turn on the microphone so I can hear what you're saying. So I'll tell you a funny story. So my neighbor lets me hack into his stuff at my old house. He's got a whole smart home kind of thing. So he did get mad one time when I had all the lights turning on and off in his house at 11 o'clock at night. He wasn't happy about that. But I left this in his car one day, and it was on a Sunday, and I see him leave, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if he's going to charge his phone because he's got an Apple Lightning. Sure enough, he charges his phone. I call the number. It picked up. GPS started coming, and then the microphone. I'm starting to get the audio from it. And all I hear him is bitching about having to go to the store on a Sunday and missing football from his wife. So I called him, and I'm like, Matt, dude, just go pick up the ice cream. He literally hung up as fast as possible. I know there was a couple 4-letter and 6-letter words in there somewhere as well that I won't mention on camera. So yes, I did get my cable back. So yes, it is pretty fun at parties and stuff like that. So how can you stop something like that? Because what we used to do is pen testers, we throw USB drives on the ground, people would pick them up. Now I've got cables that do similar stuff. So like I have a custom cable that I run as well that's basically Bluetooth. It's radio frequency. It uses a radio in it. And I can use a directional antenna, and I can get you across the street to activate it, because it doesn't activate until I send it a signal. But as soon as it's plugged into it will transfer data and charge your device, whatever it is. It looks just like an Apple cable. It's USB-C, and it's really powerful. I've used it in engagements before. Another stat from 4 years ago, I like to go back in time and see where we are. Basically came back and said 60% of insider threats are planning employees to leave. I wouldn't say it's that high. I would say most are not. I mean, some people, I guess the survey didn't ask the right question because it was too broad, because a lot of times, oh yeah, they took their PowerPoint that they did last week. It doesn't have any company confidential. They took their memes or whatever. So, you have to take it kind of with a grain of salt. So what are we missing? Insufficient data protection, number of devices. What about the data moving outside the firewall at mobile devices? Okay. I actually have a couple phones that I travel with. If I leave the country, I always take my other backup phone because I'm scared of one thing, because my name is associated with security as a researcher. Guess who the TSA and Border Patrol want to pick on? Me. Luckily, I've never been stopped, and I have been stopped and questioned, but they've never confiscated one of my devices. Especially if I'm going on an engagement. If I'm going on engagement international, I always ship my equipment there because I don't want to be in the same, because they'll stop me as I'm going through the airport. Because if you didn't know, the Border Patrol, they have basic carte blanche, and what they do is they'll grab your phone, plug it in, siphon everything off of it with a forensics tool, and said, oh, here's your phone. We'll get back to you in 30 days. We'll let you know if we need to come and arrest you. Great. Life and times, right? I think the biggest thing right here is this, use of cloud apps and infrastructure. There's so many problems with that. How many times have you heard an S3 bucket that's wide open? Over and over and over again. I have a script when I'm pen testing a company and they got cloud stuff. I just literally hit go on their domain looking for every S3 bucket they could possibly have to search for that stuff. Some of the things you need to be watching for: unusual access attempts, definitely expanding user privileges, data storing and downloading. Look for those patterns. You've got to be able to see what's happening to find this kind of stuff. And definitely data transmission to outside channels. It's not as common as it used to, but the amount of data that people are trying to steal these days, and these tips are not going to help you just get insiders. Ransomware. What's one of the biggest thing they like to do with ransomware? As soon as they get in, they want to suck all that data, so now they can do a double extortion against you. And I've still got 25 minutes. Thank you for the card. Awesome. Just kidding. You definitely have to think about that. Now, I would never say I'm a fan of regulations, but GDPR actually has data to back it up, that the insider threat risk actually went down after GDPR got enacted, which I think is pretty cool. Except that in the US, we don't do GDPR, right? I think companies are looking at it going, hey, maybe we should go ahead and get to this, but they haven't done it yet. And I know the slides will be posted, so you don't have to take screenshots, but you can. But some of them have some long URLs at the bottom. So if you want some good stuff, this is insider threat mitigation. I know it says for U.S. critical infrastructure, but it can apply to anywhere. There's a lot of good stuff in that particular document. Also, this is from INSA Online as well. This is for commercial espionage as well. That's a really good article to go over. And CISA has one too. CISA.gov Insider Threat Cyber is another good resource to go look at. Okay? Awesome. Is it going to get much worse? I can tell you it is. This is a huge deep fake that $25 million was stolen not too long ago. They actually deep faked the CEO, the CFO, and several people in the company, okay? So they grabbed their videos that were online, deep faked a conference, and they had a live conference. They invited this employee that could do the transfers of money, and this was a bunch of transfers that equaled up to $25 million. and they deep faked a Zoom call. And the guy's like, oh, there's my boss, and there's, the CEO. And they said, oh, this is the partner company we're working through. We just want y'all to meet because they're going to be calling you to transfer money. I know, I don't want to laugh, but it's really bad. I actually have a crazy talk on deep fakes. Michael, Sam, you didn't approve that talk for this year. So if you give feedback, say, hey, we want Dave back, and we want him to hear the deep fake talk I do. It's really awesome. So this one's really bad. They employ 18,000 people, and they have revenues over $2 billion. A big company. But they definitely took advantage of them because they used an insider but pretended to be insider as well. My biggest thing, if you don't like anything that I said today or like my funny jokes or bad jokes, is get visibility. You've got to have visibility into your network. So many people are missing this, especially with cloud infrastructure. And don't get this kind of visibility, okay? Can't make this stuff. This was at a Subway up in New Hampshire, where I live now. And it was right by my dad's house. They replaced this after a couple of months. It was like this for a couple months. They replaced it with another camera that wasn't even hooked up for like 3 weeks. And it was the camera that was facing straight down on the cash register so they could make sure. It was mainly not because they had any employee stealing. It was because they would have customers say, hey, I gave you a 20, and they'd give them, or they would give them a 5 and say, oh, I gave you a 20, where's my change? And the person behind the cash register would get confused. It's an old scam, okay? So I'll leave you with Dave's top 10. Always treat your network as hostile, always assumed breach. Like I said earlier, I got breached with that medical company, pisses me off. Nobody's immune to malware. We know that for sure. Don't forget about the insider threat. That's why you came here today. Always do number 2. Okay, this is a family show. We'll come back to that one. Know your network. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in to either do IR incident or consulting with a company, and I asked them some basic questions, and I was like, well, what are your ingress and egress points? And they're like, oh, well, we have an internet connection. And then they don't have all this stuff, and they don't realize they have multiple internet connections in their place. Crazy stuff. Backup. Test your backups. That will save your butt from ransomware. I cannot tell you how many times. I tried to take a survey of all these companies that had a bunch of ransomware attacks, and I'm like, why didn't you restore from backups? And the number one answer was, well, they wiped out our backups. I worked about a little bit less than a year ago, I worked a big case for a telecommunications company here in the United States. I can't say who it is. They got breached. They got a huge ransomware, and it took down both of their data centers. 2,000 servers per data center. Guess what the second data center was? The DR data center. Everything was replicated over to the DR site. It was not air-gapped. It was not checked. And as soon as they came in, they wiped out all the VMware servers and encrypted everything. And guess what happened? They did this on a Sunday. All that encrypted data, because it was automatically sent over to the other data center so they could do real-time failover, everything was encrypted everywhere. They didn't even have to really attack the other data center. Bad stuff. You got to back up your stuff. If you don't believe me, have a backup tape. If you have a backup tape, guess what ransomware can attack? Backup tape. You got to have some other kind of media. Yes, Charles?
Story in this direction. I was working with a credit union many years ago. They had a guy set up their 9-track tape backup that were going to be safe. He tested it, wrote to the tape, ended the tape, came back, tests worked. They never tested it with actual data. And so until they finally got into a problem several years later, they needed data off a tape. Their entire library.
Yeah, you've got to check the backups. You've got to do backups and restores. How many people do tabletops and disaster recovery and breach simulations? Oh, wow, a lot more than I thought. Wow, that's almost 50%. That's good. A lot of times companies don't. I'm like, you got to simulate this stuff. You don't want to be in the firing zone during a fire, for sure. Security awareness from everyone. not your standard click, click, click from HR. Hey, I'm certified now. I don't get phishing emails. Here's number 2, patch, 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 and refer back to number 7. It's a programming joke. It's an infinite loop. I did that. I did this too. I was given an SDLC class, secure coding class, for a. You probably know them. You probably have a subscription to their service. Anyways, I had 40 developers, 40 of their biggest developers in the company, and I was giving them some secured coding and coming from a pen tester point of view, and I showed that, and it was like dead silence for about 15 seconds, and then they all died laughing. They were like, "Oh my God!" So, number 1, Ricky Gervais was not available for this talk. Sorry. No, in all seriousness, security never takes a vacation, for sure. Build for the advantage. It's your network. You know what's going on in and out. You got to build for that advantage, okay? And that is my talk for the day. I do have a couple more stories, but...
Hey, on Q&A, let me catch up to you guys with the microphone if you have questions. Anybody have questions for David?
Group selfie, everyone, big hug. Okay. Questions? Oh, yeah, so who picked up, if you didn't notice, go ahead, sir, what did I do to the entire audience? I rickrolled everyone in the room. They didn't even know it. If you check your Wi-Fi, I sent out about 8 to 10 Wi-Fi access points, all on my watch. And it was the lyrics to Rick Ashley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So, okay. Question.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
First of
Thank you
all,
for coming, by the way.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the great presentation. So in the scenario where you had an adversary or an insider that was taking pictures of sensitive data and exfiltrating it, I mean, what possible control would you even have to prevent that?
Oh, that's real easy. You call 6 Hour. I'm kidding. The headquarters of 6 Hour is like 5 minutes from my house, so I had to give a New Hampshire joke. That's the hardest one. So his question was about, if you have an insider taking pictures of stuff on their cell phone, if it is in a critical location and it's a critical employee, then the only thing you can do is ban electronic devices. If they're at work and they have access to that data, if they can access it outside the company, you're SOL, right? But that was a great question, by the way. You get a tag, and I get to show more fun toys. I like fun toys. There you go. So another thing I like to do is HDMI interception. So this side's got an HDMI, this side has an HDMI, and I have a Wi-Fi antenna. It's configured for my network. I literally just have to walk up to a computer, do a man in the middle on the HDMI cable, and now I can view this from down the street, depending on what antenna I have. Yeah.
Do you also consider like physical security? I also did some pen testing earlier in my career, and one of the things I was asked is to check the physical security it's a federal building. I won't name it, but
Yep.
They had glass doors and they had the motion sensor, and I just the lady was doing cleaning. She had a cardboard box in the hallway, and I grabbed a piece of cardboard, wiggled it, and I was in.
Oh, yeah, we used to do, we would take about 10 pieces of paper and just slide them through the door and throw them up so it would do enough motion to open the doors. We would do that all the time. Some of the doors now use thermal, so that doesn't work, but all you have to do is light the paper on fire. I'm kidding. Not really. It works, though. Yeah, anyone else? Yes, we have a question in the back. Do you have a scarf so I can do, Aerosmith? Okay.
You mentioned Slack before. So if a company is using Slack and using VPN and everything, is it still insecure?
Oh, yes, 100%.
So how would you bring this up to the management? My company doesn't use Slack, by the way. I'm just curious.
Slack, Discord, all of those, quote, open and corporate kind of, because there's a free Slack. You can have free Slack channels. You can have corporate, well, you can create your own instance, right? Well, the company of Slack can read all that data. The company that owns that organization can read all that data, which unfortunately got at another big company, got a bunch of people fired because they started a new Slack channel about an acquisition that was happening, a merger that they didn't like. They weren't being mean. They were just like, oh, this really sucks, blah, blah, blah. They were kind of being negative about it. And the company read all those messages and let like 10 employees go because of that were in that Slack channel. That's dangerous. There was another incident and this is to really answer your question, which is a great question, is Slack, just like all these services, have APIs, and they're pretty open. And this one organization quit. They had to remove Slack from every computer. They were to shut down their Slack because an outside party got with an insider to borrow their credentials for a few minutes, and they used an API that was not security. There was no security behind the API, and they downloaded their entire Slack gigabytes of data. This company was putting what new movies they're working on, what projects, what's working, what's not working, a bunch of crazy DEI stuff. That's really what's going to get them in trouble for this. I mean, I won't tell you that it's Disney, but I won't tell you it's not Disney. And it's a big problem, okay, because it's a SaaS service. You don't own the data. If you want to have a service like that, you've got to get something that's on-prem or that you control. That's the biggest thing. It's too open. It's too easy for other employees either to get access to it, do an API dump, that kind of stuff. Does that help? Okay. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, if you also are using Slack, you need to opt out if you don't want your data going to their AI learning module.
Oh, yeah. But it's always an opt-out because they automatically turn it on. Almost all of these services, and there was another company that just got busted for that. They were, LinkedIn, yeah, they were scraping your data with their AI before they even gave you the option to opt out. It's so dumb. That's why my LinkedIn, you'll see crazy posts. Now, I'll post like, stuff, but nothing that's like, trade secret or anything. Just, hey, I'm at HughesCon and follow me. And, if you like my talk, like and subscribe. Okay.
A shameless plug for Dave. Sam and Mike Farnham and Sam Van Ryder have a podcast series called HughesCast. Dave was on episode number 18, which I think was around April-May timeframe. So you're able to either go to his LinkedIn page and find a link to that HughesCast, or go to the HughesCast website, whatever it is, I don't know. But I think it was around April.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Yeah. I do a lot of podcasts. I give about 40 talks a year all over the world. And just, I basically, my main job is not just, sit up here and tell funny jokes, and is to really educate people, right? And educate as far as security. What can we do better? And so I'm going to go off on a little tangent right here. Is security's broken, okay? We really got hit in the throat when a certain company, CrowdStrike, decided to blow up the internet. Very bad practices. Let's push an update, at 1 o'clock on a Friday, whatever, to every single friggin' 8.5 million of their customers. So everyone knows every single one of their customers now. There's been threats of lawsuits for that whole thing. I can't believe there hasn't been. Delta wants to sue them for $500 million because that's what they said. But CS has come back and said, no, you can't, not our terms of service. Hate to break it to them that terms of services are not legally binding. If there's a law that says you can't do that, guess what? No terms of service that you sign will take your rights away. There was a I think it was even a Joe Rogan. No, it was a Tim Pool podcast that came out recently talking to some scholars about that these companies that are shady, they change your terms of agreement while you're doing it. Perfect example, I keep bringing up Disney, but they're kind of cohorts in this mess right now. A husband and wife ate at a Disney restaurant. The wife died. I believe it was the wife. She was allergic to something, whatever it was, peanuts, shellfish, whatever. And they made a mistake. They gave her the wrong food, whatever. And Disney filed a motion with the court because they were suing for like $2 million in damages. And Disney wrote a brief to the court wanting to dismiss the case because the gentleman signed up for Disney Plus free trial for 30 days, like 3 years ago. And they're saying, well, in our terms of service, it says you agree if you use our service, you have to go to arbitration. The judge laughed at it. Thank God. The judge says, no, that doesn't fly in my court. So Disney withdrew it, and now they're going to court over it. I mean, it just amazes me. Don't get me started on right to repair.
Well, Dave, send us out on a high note or a low note. You're known for your bad jokes. Do you have a bad dad joke by chance?
A bad dad joke. Okay. Texans will enjoy this. Why do birds fly upside down over Arkansas? There's nothing we're shitting on. So, sorry. You can insert Oklahoma, okay? I won't even go there. I mean, yeah. If you want to say hi, you can say hi. I do autographs on badges. I'm known for that too, so I'll be happy to. I will have a book on ransomware coming out early next year, sometime I think for end of first quarter next year. So if you haven't, you can look up my name, ransomware, blah, blah, blah. I wrote a big white paper on ransomware for Sony, Fujifilm. There was like 5 different companies. They hired me to write this big white paper. It's like 18 pages long. It goes into some of the history of ransomware, where we've come, where we're going, some predictions, which is really cool stuff. So if you get a chance, check it out. I posted it on LinkedIn. I might just repost it because it got published a couple months. So that's a prelude to what the book is going to be about, I think. So people keep asking me, Dave, you should write a book. Write Insider. You got too many friggin' stories to tell. But I think I'm going to do it on ransomware. It's kind of funny. Cool. Anything else? Am I keeping y'all for lunch? All right, we'll go to lunch. Enjoy. Thank y'all for coming
Lunch is
so
at
much.
the very end. Thank you, guys. Thank you, David.